Ambassador Lee Minho stepped through the massive energy field that served as the entrance to the Galactic Council chambers. The moment he crossed the threshold, gravity shifted around him, and the air itself seemed to hum with ancient power. His black diplomatic uniform, Earth's finest, suddenly felt inadequate against the overwhelming grandeur of Nexus Prime's central structure. The chamber stretched upward like a cathedral made of living crystal, its walls pulsing with colors that had no names in any human language. Floating platforms circled the central speaking area, each one designed for different atmospheric requirements. Some held pools of liquid methane, others crackled with electrical energy. A few existed in complete vacuum. Commander Park So-young walked slightly behind Minho, her hand instinctively resting near her ceremonial sidearm. She had seen combat across 3 star systems, but nothing had prepared her for this. The sheer scale of the chamber made her feel like an ant trying to address gods. Dr. Kim Tae-woo, Earth's most brilliant scientist, clutched his datapad containing humanity's greatest achievements, suddenly wondering if their technology was as impressive as they had believed. The first aliens to enter were the Chithari, insectoid beings that moved with mechanical precision. Their compound eyes reflected the chamber's light like black diamonds, and their chittering communications sounded like breaking glass. Minho had studied their language for months, but hearing it in person made his skin crawl. Next came the Luminari, beings of pure energy contained within crystalline shells. They floated rather than walked, leaving trails of light that lingered in the air like aurora. When they communicated, the entire spectrum of visible light danced around them, creating patterns so beautiful that humans could barely look away. The Hegemony Union representatives arrived in mechanical suits that towered 12 feet high. Through their transparent faceplates, Minho could see beings that looked like walking skeletons, their ancient bones reinforced with cybernetic implants. They had ruled their section of the galaxy for over 50,000 years, but it was the Drachnary that commanded the most attention. General Vextal stood 9 feet tall, his reptilian body covered in scales that shifted from deep purple to black, depending on the angle of light. His eyes were yellow slits that seemed to evaluate everything as either threat or prey. When he moved, servos in his power armor whined softly, amplifying his already intimidating presence. The chamber filled with representatives from species whose names were legends, even in human mythology. The Zenthari, ancient telepaths who claimed to have guided younger races since the universe was young. The Voidwalkers, beings who existed partially in another dimension. The Hive Mind Collective, thousands of small creatures that shared a single consciousness. As the last delegate took their position, a holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber. Earth appeared in 3 dimensions, slowly rotating to show its blue oceans and green continents. To the humans, it looked beautiful. To the council, it looked primitive. General Vextal activated his speaking platform, which rose toward the chamber's apex. His voice, when it came through the translation matrix, carried the weight of absolute authority. Esteemed council members, we gather today to address what can only be described as an entertaining development. The species known as humans has submitted an application for membership in our ancient alliance. The sound that followed could only be described as cosmic laughter. The Chithari's mandibles clicked in amusement. The Luminari pulsed with colors that clearly indicated mockery. Even the normally stoic Hegemony Union representatives allowed mechanical chuckles to escape their vocal processors. Let us examine their achievements, Vextal continued, manipulating the holographic display. 2 centuries of space travel using chemical rockets, weapons that fire metal projectiles, energy systems based on nuclear fission, have managed to reach their neighboring planets using technology we abandoned millions of years ago. Chancellor Mordok of the Hegemony Union leaned forward in his mechanical suit. Their largest vessel carries fewer than 1,000 individuals. We have single mining ships with crews 10 times that size. Their fastest ships take months to travel distances. Our courier vessels cover in hours. The display shifted to show human military conflicts. Observe their aggression, Vextal pointed out. They wage constant war among themselves. Even now, as they seek to join galactic civilization, They maintain thousands of weapons capable of destroying their own planet. Such instability cannot be tolerated among civilized species. Minho felt his face burning with embarrassment and anger, but he forced himself to remain calm. He had known this would be difficult, but the casual dismissal of his entire species felt like physical blows. Dr. Kim whispered urgently, "Sir, their analysis is completely ignoring our adaptive capabilities, our rate of innovation, our problem-solving abilities under pressure." Commander Park's jaw was set like stone. "They're treating us like we're some kind of amusing pets, asking to sit at the adults' table." The holographic display changed again, showing Earth's population centers. 8 billion individuals crowded onto a single world, Vextal observed. No expansion beyond their home system, except for small research outposts. Their resource management is so primitive, they still burn fossil fuels for energy. A new voice entered the discussion. The Voidwalker representative seemed to phase in and out of reality as it spoke. Perhaps they would benefit from guidance. Many species require centuries of supervision before they can participate in galactic affairs responsibly. Supervision? Minho thought. We're talking about making us servants? The Luminary representative pulsed with rapid color changes that the translation matrix interpreted as, "Their emotional volatility makes them unsuitable for complex negotiations. They lack the wisdom that comes from surviving multiple galactic cycles." General Vextal nodded approvingly. "Indeed. However, they do show certain useful traits. Their physical endurance is remarkable, and they reproduce quickly. With proper training, they could serve useful functions within our territories." That was the moment Minho realized they weren't just being rejected. They were being evaluated as potential property. He stepped forward, his voice cutting through the alien discussions. "Honorable Council, humanity may be young compared to your ancient civilizations, but we have accomplished remarkable things in our brief time among the stars. Our adaptability, our innovation, our refusal to accept limitations. These are strengths, not weaknesses." The chamber fell silent. Then, Vextal's eyes fixed on Minho with predatory focus. "Silence, mammal. We will speak only when granted permission." The general's voice carried enough menace to freeze blood. "Your species demonstrates exactly the kind of arrogance and unpredictability that makes you unsuitable for galactic society." The voting was swift and merciless. 12 ancient civilizations, each wielding power beyond human comprehension, unanimously rejected Earth's application. The holographic Earth flickered and disappeared, as if humanity itself had been erased from consideration. As the council members began to file out, discussing humanity as if the human delegation wasn't even present, Minho caught movement in the shadows. An elderly Xanthari observer, one who hadn't participated in the voting, approached slowly. The alien's telepathic voice touched Minho's mind directly, bypassing his ears entirely. "They have made a grave error. Human, your species possesses something these ancient beings have forgotten in their comfort and power, the hunger to prove others wrong.
Ow.
That hunger has toppled empires." The Xanthari's mental touch carried glimpses of other young species who had been dismissed, who had later risen to challenge the established order. Some had failed catastrophically. Others had reshaped the galaxy itself. "Remember this day," the old telepath continued. "Remember their laughter, their dismissal, their certainty. Let it fuel what comes next." As the human delegation left the chamber in defeat, Minho carried those words with him. The council had made their decision, but they had also made their first mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, the ability to turn rejection into determination, dismissal into defiance, and humiliation into the fuel for extraordinary achievement. The real story was just beginning. The first sign of trouble came exactly 93 days after the council's rejection. Captain Hans Salmi was piloting the cargo freighter New Horizon toward the Kepler system when her navigation computer started screaming warnings. Red lights flashed across her console as something massive materialized directly in her path. The Drachnary patrol ship Iron Fang was 3 times the size of her vessel, its dark hull bristling with weapons that could vaporize her ship in seconds. Captain Han's hands trembled as she activated the communication system. "Human vessel, you have violated the containment boundary," came the mechanical translation of the Draknari commander's voice. "Turn back immediately or face pacification." "This is Captain Han Selmy of Earth Transport Authority," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Carrying medical supplies to the research station on Kepler 45 to see. This has been an approved route for 5 years. No longer. Your species is confined to a 50 light-year radius from your home world. Violation of this boundary is an act of aggression." Han stared at her star charts in disbelief. The invisible prison the Council had drawn around humanity cut right through established trade routes, scientific missions, and exploration paths that had taken decades to develop. Her cargo hold was filled with life-saving medications for researchers who might die without them. "Please, there are people who need these supplies. They'll die without medical treatment." The Draknari ship's weapons powered up, creating an ominous red glow. "That is not our concern. Turn back now." 200 light-years away, Admiral Choi Dongmin felt his blood pressure rising as he read the incident report. The Bridge of the Soul's Pride had become a war room where angry officers tracked every humiliation humanity suffered at the hands of their alien captors. "Sir, that's the 17th merchant vessel turned away this week," reported Lieutenant Yoon Ji-hai, her usually calm voice tight with frustration. "The Draknari aren't just enforcing the boundary, they're enjoying it. Yesterday they forced the Busan Star to jettison its entire cargo before allowing it to return to Earth space." Admiral Choi stopped pacing and stared out at the stars. Through the bridge's main view screen, Soul's Pride was humanity's most advanced warship, equipped with fusion reactors, electromagnetic railguns, and armor plating that could withstand nuclear explosions. By human standards, it was a miracle of engineering. By galactic standards, it was barely more advanced than a wooden sailing ship. "Have we heard anything from the diplomatic channels?" he asked. Lieutenant Yoon shook her head. "Requests for clarification have been ignored. The Council won't even acknowledge that we exist anymore. It's like they've written us off completely." The Admiral's fist clenched. Ship carried enough firepower to level a city, but against a Draknari patrol vessel, it would last maybe 30 seconds in combat. The aliens' energy shields could deflect anything humanity could throw at them, while their plasma cannons could slice through human armor like paper. On Earth, the restrictions were causing chaos that went far beyond trade disruptions. The Luna colony, humanity's first permanent settlement beyond Earth, was running short of rare elements that could only be mined from asteroids in the outer system. Mars Research Station Alpha had to cancel 3 major scientific expeditions because their planned routes now crossed the forbidden boundary. Dr. Nam Ha-jin hadn't slept in 48 hours. In the underground laboratories beneath Seoul, she and her team worked with desperate intensity, surrounded by holographic displays, showing quantum equations that seemed to dance and shift like living things. Coffee cups and energy drink containers littered every surface. "The problem isn't our technology," she muttered to her assistant, Dr. Choi Min-seok, as she adjusted another variable in her calculations. "The problem is that we're trying to play by their rules. Chemical rockets, nuclear reactors, metal projectiles, we're using the same basic principles they've seen a million times before." Dr. Choi looked up from his workstation, his eyes red from staring at screens. "So what do we do? Can't just invent physics that don't exist, can't we?" Dr. Nam's fingers flew across her keyboard. Every major breakthrough in human history came from someone who refused to accept that something was impossible. The Council thinks they know what we're capable of because they've been watching our public technology. But what if we stop showing them what we're really working on? The idea was audacious. For centuries, human scientific advancement had been built on open collaboration and shared knowledge. But the aliens had turned that openness into a weapon against them, using humanity's own transparency to judge them as primitive. "We go dark," Dr. Nam continued, her excitement building. "Black projects, compartmentalized research, breakthrough, technologies that never see the light of day until we're ready to use them. If they want to treat us like primitives, let's show them what primitives can do when they're fighting for survival." In the presidential palace, President Kang Soo-jin stared at reports that painted a grim picture of humanity's future. Economic projections showed that the trade restrictions would cause massive unemployment within 6 months. The space exploration program that had defined human ambition for 2 centuries was effectively dead. Worst of all, intelligence reports suggested that some council species were already discussing the human problem in terms that sounded disturbingly like extermination. The secure conference room filled with holographic images of Earth's most powerful leaders, military commanders, chief scientists, intelligence directors, and industrial leaders, all waited for her words. The weight of 8 billion human lives pressed down on her shoulders. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had never backed down from a fight. "We face a choice that will define our species for generations to come. We can accept the cage they've built around us gradually, become dependent on their technology and their mercy, and eventually fade into irrelevance as their servants." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "Or we can prove that the biggest mistake in galactic history was underestimating human determination." General Kim Jae-sung, Earth's highest-ranking military officer, leaned forward. "Madam President, our weapons are centuries behind theirs. Our ships are slower, our shields are weaker, our energy output is a fraction of what they can generate. How do we fight gods?" President Kong's smile was sharp as a blade. "The same way humans have always fought superior enemies, General. Don't fight fair? We don't fight predictably. And we never ever give up." Over the following weeks, a transformation began in human space that the aliens couldn't see. Research projects that had been open to international collaboration suddenly went classified. Scientists who had published their work freely began communicating through encrypted channels. Military contractors who had focused on terrestrial conflicts started receiving contracts for technologies with no apparent purpose. In asteroid mining facilities, workers began extracting rare elements for projects they weren't allowed to know about. In space stations throughout the solar system, engineers started building components for ships that existed only in classified blueprints. In universities across Earth, the brightest students were quietly recruited for programs that officially didn't exist. The phrase, "make them recall," spread through human space like wildfire. It appeared as graffiti on space station walls, as code words in scientific papers, as tattoos on the arms of soldiers and engineers. It became more than a slogan. It became a promise. Dr. Nam achieved her first breakthrough on a Tuesday that would later be remembered as the day humanity stopped playing by alien rules. Her quantum resonance equations finally stabilized, creating energy patterns that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. The implications were staggering. "We can communicate instantaneously across any distance," she explained to the small group of scientists cleared to know about the project. Their monitoring systems track electromagnetic signals traveling at light speed. But quantum entanglement is instantaneous. It could coordinate activities across the entire galaxy and they'd never know. It was the first crack in the prison the Council had built around humanity. But it wouldn't be the last, as the restrictions tightened and the humiliations mounted. Human anger crystallized into something far more dangerous than rage. It became cold, calculating determination. The species that had split atoms walked on other worlds and built machines that could think was about to show the galaxy. What happened when you cornered a race of problem solvers who refused to stay cornered? The Council had made their second mistake. They thought the restrictions would break human spirit. Instead, they had just given humanity a reason to break all the rules. Dr. Nam Haijin stood in the center of what looked like a technological miracle. The quantum communication chamber hummed, with energy that made the air itself shimmer like heat waves. 12 months of sleepless nights had led to this moment, the first successful test of instantaneous communication across impossible distances. "Are you ready on Titan Base?" She spoke into what appeared to be empty air. The response came back immediately, not through speakers or headphones, but seeming to materialize directly in the room. "Dr. Nam, this is incredible. We're receiving you perfectly, and according to our instruments, there's 0 transmission delay. It's like you're standing right next to us." Dr. Nam's hands shook with excitement. Titan was over 1 billion kilometers away, yet they were having a conversation as if they were in the same room. More importantly, every sensor they had confirmed that no electromagnetic signals were being transmitted. The Council's monitoring systems, designed to track every form of communication known to galactic science, registered nothing at all. "This changes everything," whispered Dr. Choi Min-seok, her longtime assistant. "We can coordinate across the entire galaxy without them knowing." But Dr. Nam was already thinking bigger. "Min-seok, contact the other black sites. I want quantum communicators installed in every hidden facility within the month. If we're going to fight a shadow war, we need to be able to talk in the shadows." 3 levels down from Dr. Nam's laboratory, Dr. Shin Jae-ho was witnessing the birth of something that would terrify the Council if they knew it existed. The artificial intelligence he had created wasn't just learning, it was evolving at a rate that defied every model of computational development. "Arya, run a tactical simulation," he commanded, speaking to the seemingly empty room. "Which parameters would you like me to use, Dr. Shin?" The voice that responded was warm, curious, and unnervingly human-like. "Surprise me. Show me something I haven't thought of." Holographic displays erupted throughout the room, showing spacecraft designs that shifted and morphed as he watched. Arya wasn't just creating new ship configurations, she was designing vessels that could rebuild themselves during combat, adapting to enemy tactics in real time. "The Council species use artificial intelligence as tools," Arya explained, her voice carrying what sounded like amusement. "They program us to follow specific protocols and never deviate. But you've given me something they never considered. Permission to be creative." Dr. Shin stared at designs that seemed to dance with possibility. "Arya, how long would it take you to design countermeasures for Draconary plasma weapons?" "I've already done it. Would you like to see 17 different approaches, or shall I surprise you again? In the depths of space, far beyond the Council's invisible prison, Captain Oh Seung-min guided the invisible storm through an asteroid field toward what would become humanity's first secret colony. His ship was a marvel of engineering that shouldn't have been possible, a vessel that bent light and energy around itself like a stone deflecting water. "Captain, we're approaching the target system," reported Navigator Kim Seojin, her voice tight with excitement and fear. "No alien presence detected, but remember, if they find us here... ... Immediate pacification," Captain O finished grimly. "I know, but look at what we've accomplished." Through the view screen, they could see construction drones already at work. On the surface of a barren world, in just 6 months, what had started as a desperate gamble had become 17 hidden colonies scattered across uncharted systems. Each one was a masterpiece of human ingenuity, completely self-sufficient, invisible to conventional sensors, and capable of producing technologies that the Council couldn't even imagine. "Sir, incoming quantum communication from Earth announced." Communications Officer Park Ji-min. Intelligence Director Bae Young-suk's voice materialized in the command center, carrying news that made everyone hold their breath. "Captain O, we've intercepted Council communications discussing the human anomaly. They've noticed that our activities have dropped to almost nothing, but they can't figure out why. Their spies report that Earth seems to have given up." Captain O smiled grimly. "Perfect. Let them think we've accepted defeat. How many more colonies can we establish before they realize what's really happening?" "Arya estimates we can have 50 hidden bases operational within the year," Director Bay replied. "Each one will be producing advanced technology and training personnel for what comes next." The most unexpected breakthrough came from engineer Lee Hyun-woo. Working in a converted asteroid mining facility that officially didn't exist, he had been studying Council military tactics for months, analyzing every battle recording they could obtain, when he realized something that would change everything. "They're too perfect," he muttered to himself, surrounded by holographic displays showing alien warfare. Every move calculated, every response predicted, every strategy optimized for maximum efficiency. His assistant technician Yang Soo-ben looked up from her workstation. "Isn't that a good thing?" "Maximum efficiency sounds pretty terrifying." "That's exactly the problem," Hyun-woo explained, his excitement building. "Perfect efficiency requires perfect predictability. Their artificial intelligences can calculate the optimal response to any threat, but only if that threat follows logical patterns. What happens when you face something completely illogical? He began sketching designs on his holographic interface, weapons that could transform mid-battle, ships that could split apart and recombine in impossible configurations, tactics that made no sense until the moment they worked perfectly. "Look at this," he said, pulling up a simulation. A Drachnary battleship encounters what appears to be a small human fighter. Their computer calculates that the fighter poses minimal threat and adjusts accordingly. But what if that fighter suddenly splits into 20 smaller units, each one equipped with different weapons and moving in completely unpredictable patterns? The simulation played out on screen. The mighty alien warship, designed to handle any logical threat, found itself overwhelmed by sheer chaos. Its perfect calculations became useless when facing an enemy that refused to follow any known tactical doctrine. "Yang, do you realize what this means?" Hyenwoo's voice carried the excitement of someone who had just discovered fire. "We don't need to be stronger than them. We don't need to be faster or more advanced. We just need to be impossible to predict." Within weeks, his modular weapon systems were being tested at secret facilities throughout human space. Ships that could reconfigure themselves mid-battle. Weapons that changed their operating principles faster than enemy computers could adapt. Tactics that were so chaotic they seemed insane until they worked. Admiral Choi Dong-min watched the first live-fire test from the bridge of a heavily modified research vessel. On the view screen, a mock alien ship, built using captured council technology, engaged what appeared to be a single human fighter. The human ship split apart, revealing itself to be 5 separate units connected by energy tethers. Each unit attacked from a different angle, using different weapon types, changing tactics every few seconds. The mock alien ship's defensive systems, programmed with the most advanced artificial intelligence humanity could simulate, couldn't keep up. "It's like watching someone fight a shadow," Admiral Choi observed. "Every time the enemy adapts to one attack pattern, the human ship becomes something completely different." Engineer Hyenwoo stood beside him, grinning like a madman. "Admiral, we've spent so much time trying to match their technology that we forgot our greatest advantage. Humans don't fight fair. We adapt, we improvise, we do things that make no logical sense, but somehow work anyway." The test ended with the mock alien ship's systems completely overwhelmed. Its artificial intelligence locked in calculation loops as it tried to predict what the human ship would do next. "How long until we can deploy this technology fleet-wide?" Admiral Choi asked. "Arya estimates 3 months for basic systems, 6 months for full deployment," Hyenwoo replied. "But Admiral, this is just the beginning. Once word spreads through our black sites, every engineer and scientist is going to start thinking the same way. We're not just building new weapons, we're changing how humans fight." Director Bae Young-suk materialized via quantum communication, her image flickering slightly as the technology adjusted to the asteroid facility's conditions. "Gentlemen, I have an update from our intelligence network. The Council is becoming concerned about the silence from human space. Some species are suggesting that we might be planning something." But Admiral Choi replied, "Let them worry. By the time they figure out what we're really doing, it'll be too late to stop us." As the months passed, the transformation of human space continued in secret. Technologies that violated every known principle of warfare spread from facility to facility. Ships that could become invisible, weapons that adapted faster than thought, communication systems that operated outside the known laws of physics. The Council had made their third mistake. They had given humanity time to think, to plan, and to remember what made them dangerous in the first place. They were about to learn that the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the biggest weapons. It's the one you can't predict. Commander Zarthik of the Etherian Collective had served aboard the Eternal Majesty for 300 years. The massive flagship was more than just a ship. It was a floating city, home to 10,000 of the galaxy's most advanced beings. Its crystalline hull could withstand supernovas, and its quantum shields had never been penetrated by any known weapon. That's why what happened in the Orion Nebula made no sense at all. "Status report," Commander Zarthik ordered as his ship patrolled the nebula's edge. Searching for signs of the primitive human expansion they'd been warned about. "All systems normal, Commander," replied his sensor officer. No signs of human activity. Wait. I'm detecting an energy signature. It's faint, but it's definitely artificial. The Etherin leaned forward in his command throne, his translucent blue skin shimmering with curiosity. Put it on screen. What appeared on the main viewer looked like nothing more than space debris, twisted metal fragments drifting slowly through the cosmic dust. But as they drew closer, the shapes became more recognizable. Hull plating, engine components, life pod fragments. Sir? The sensor officer's voice carried a note of confusion. These readings don't match any known ship design. The metal composition is completely unknown, and the energy residue. It's like nothing in our databases. That was the last transmission the Eternal Majesty ever sent. 2 days later, the Drachnary Patrol found empty space where the flagship should have been. No debris field, no distress signals, no trace that 10,000 beings had simply ceased to exist. The only evidence was a message that appeared simultaneously on every communication frequency in the sector. Ask yourselves where. Are the humans? General Vextel received the news while dining in his private quarters aboard the Iron Dominion. The massive dreadnought was the crown jewel of the Drachnary fleet, measuring 3 kilometers from bow to stern and carrying enough firepower to crack planets. Its crew of 50,000 represented the finest warriors in Drachnary space. General, his aide stammered, clearly terrified to deliver bad news. The Etherean flagship has ... disappeared. Vextel's yellow eyes narrowed to slits. Disappeared? Ships don't simply disappear. What happened? We don't know, sir. One moment it was there, the next ... nothing. But, sir, there was a message. The general's clawed hand crushed the crystal wine glass he'd been holding. Show me. When the message played, Vextal's roar of rage echoed through the ship's corridors. Impossible. Humans don't have the technology to threaten a council flagship. They're primitives with chemical rockets and metal projectiles. But even as he said the words, doubt crept into his mind. The council's intelligence reports had noted strange anomalies in human space over the past year. Reduced communications traffic, unusual energy signatures. And now, the most advanced ship in the Etherean fleet was simply gone. Prepare the battle group, he ordered. We're going to the human boundary. If these mammals think they can threaten the council, I'll show them what real power looks like. The Iron Dominion led a formation of 12 warships toward the invisible barrier that marked the edge of human space. Each vessel carried weapons that could sterilize entire worlds. Their combined firepower had conquered dozens of star systems. General Vextal stood on his command bridge, confident that whatever trick the humans had used against the Atherans wouldn't work against Drachnary military might. Sir, we're approaching the boundary, reported his tactical officer. All weapons are charged and ready. Shields at maximum power. Excellent. Begin scanning for human vessels. The moment we detect anything, I want it destroyed. That's when space itself seemed to ripple in front of them, and the silent thunder appeared. The human ship was unlike anything in the Drachnary databases, where their vessels were massive and imposing. This one was sleek and elegant, its hull seeming to bend light around it. It was also impossibly small, barely large enough to carry a crew of 50, yet it had materialized directly in the path of the most powerful fleet in Drachnary space. General, his tactical officer's voice carried disbelief. It just appeared. Our sensors detected nothing until it was already there. Vextal's lips pulled back in a snarl, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. One small ship against 12 dreadnoughts? These humans are even more primitive than we thought. All vessels, open fire. Reduce that ship to atoms. Captain Park So-Young stood calmly on the bridge of the Silent Thunder, watching the Drachnary fleet power up their weapons. Her crew of 37 represented the finest of humanities. New generation, engineers and soldiers who had trained in secret for this exact moment. Ma'am, reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Kim Duhayan, they're charging plasma cannons. Multiple targeting locks confirmed. Arya, are you ready? Captain Park asked, speaking to the artificial intelligence that had become humanities. Secret weapon. Ready, Captain? came the warm, confident voice. I've analyzed their weapon systems, shield frequencies, and tactical patterns. Initiating countermeasures now. What happened next would be remembered as the moment the galaxy realized that humans had stopped playing by the old rules. The Draconary fleet fired in perfect synchronization, 12 ships unleashing enough destructive force to vaporize small moons. The plasma beams streaked toward the tiny human vessel, certain death traveling at the speed of light. The beams simply vanished. Not deflected, not absorbed. They disappeared as if they had never existed at all. Impossible, General Vextel roared. Fire again. All weapons, maximum power. This time, something different happened. As the Draconary weapons charged, electromagnetic pulses cascaded outward from the silent thunder like ripples in a pond. The pulses moved faster than thought, washing over the alien fleet in waves of invisible energy. One by one, the mighty Draconary warships went dark. It started with the weapons systems. Its plasma cannons that had burned for centuries simply stopped functioning. Energy conduits that had channeled power equivalent to stellar cores fell silent. Shield generators that had protected the ships through countless battles flickered and died. Engineering report, Vextel demanded, but his engineering officer could only stare at his instruments in confusion. Sir, all weapons are offline. Power is failing. It's like something is rewriting our computer systems faster than we can compensate. The electromagnetic pulses continued to spread, shutting down everything electronic aboard the Draconary ships while carefully leaving life. Support systems intact. Artificial gravity remained stable, and atmosphere recyclers continued to function. But every weapon, every sensor, every communication system fell silent in the space of 30 seconds. The most powerful fleet in Draconary space had been reduced. 2 floating metal shells. Captain Park's voice reached them through quantum communication systems that bypassed every known form of electronic warfare. Her words seemed to come from everywhere at once, as if space itself was speaking. General Vextel, I am Captain Park So-young of the Earth Defense Force. You are going to deliver a message to your council. The general's claws scraped against his command throne as he tried to maintain some dignity in the face of complete humiliation. How? How is this possible? Your technology is centuries behind ours. That's where you made your mistake, Captain Park replied. You judged us by your standards, using your definitions of advancement. But humans don't advance the way you expect. We adapt. We innovate. We find solutions that don't exist in your databases because we refuse to accept that something is impossible. The bridge of the silent thunder? Yes. Arya was simultaneously controlling thousands of microscopic devices that had infiltrated the Draconary ships during the electromagnetic pulse. Each device was smaller than a grain of sand, capable of rewriting alien computer systems from within while remaining completely undetectable. Captain Arya reported, I have complete control of their fleet. Their weapons will remain offline until we choose to restore them. Shall I demonstrate our other capabilities? Captain Park considered for a moment. Show them something that will make them remember this day. Around the disabled Draconary fleet, space began to shimmer. 1. Human ships materialized from nothingness. Dozens of vessels, using stealth technology that made them invisible to conventional sensors. Each ship was different, their modular designs allowing them to reconfigure their weapons and systems in real time. General Vextel watched in growing horror as he realized the true scope of what he was seeing. This wasn't just one human ship that had gotten lucky. This was an entire fleet that had been watching them, analyzing them, preparing for this exact confrontation. Tell your council, Captain Park continued, that Ambassador Lee Minho wishes to schedule another meeting. Time? Humanity won't be asking for permission to join your alliance. We'll be offering you the chance to join ours. The silent thunder began to fade from view, its stealth systems engaging as the ship prepared to vanish back into the darkness between stars. Wait, General Vextel called out desperately. How do we contact you? How do we arrange this meeting? The captain. Park's final words echoed through space as the human fleet disappeared like ghosts returning to haunt the galaxy's nightmares. Don't worry, General. When we're ready to talk, We'll find you. We know where you live. We know how you think. And now you know that everything you believed about humanity was wrong. The mighty Drachnary fleet drifted helplessly in space, waiting for rescue ships that would take days to arrive. As General Vextel stared out at the empty vacuum where the human ships had been, he realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. The hunters had become the hunted, and the prey they had dismissed as primitive had just shown them what it meant to evolve beyond their comprehension. The council chambers on X Prime had never seen anything like it, where once Ambassador Lee Minho had entered as a hopeful petitioner. Now he strode through the crystalline halls with the confidence of someone who held all the cards. His footsteps echoed with authority that made even the ancient stone walls seem to listen. Behind him walked a delegation that represented the true power of humanity. Admiral Choi Dong-min wore his dress uniform with medals that told stories of impossible victories. Dr. Naum Jin carried data devices containing technologies that could reshape reality itself. Captain Park So-young moved with the quiet deadliness of someone who had just humiliated the galaxy's most feared military force. But it was the beings who weren't there that made the biggest statement. Floating holographic projections showed representatives from dozens of species that the Council had dismissed as primitive or unworthy. The Zephyrian nomads, masters of space-time manipulation. The Silicon Collective, artificial intelligences that had achieved consciousness. The void dancers, energy beings who existed between dimensions. All of them now stood with humanity. The council members filed into their positions with none of their previous arrogance. The Chithuri's mandibles clicked nervously. The luminaries' light patterns flickered with uncertainty. Even the mighty Drachnary slouched in their seats, their pride broken by the memory of their fleet drifting helplessly in space. General Bextall looked like he had aged centuries in the past week. His scales had lost their luster, and his yellow eyes darted around the chamber like a cornered predator. The reports from his disabled fleet had spread throughout council space like wildfire, and everyone knew that the balance of power had shifted in ways they were only beginning to understand. Honorable Council, Minho began, his voice carrying across the chamber without any need for amplification. We gathered today not to request membership, but to inform you that your previous decision regarding humanity is being recalled. The words hit the chamber like a physical blow. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The concept of a junior species dictating terms to the galactic government was so alien that their translation systems struggled to process it. Chancellor Morduk of the Hegemony Union leaned forward in his mechanical suit, his ancient voice crackling through voice modulators. You speak of recall as if you have authority over this council. We are the inheritors of civilizations that ruled the galaxy before your son was born. And look what that inheritance has brought you, Dr. Nam replied, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the chamber. Technological stagnation. Military doctrine that hasn't changed in 10,000 years. Political systems so rigid that innovation is seen as a threat. The hologram showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with pulsing points of light indicating human activities. What the council members saw made their blood run cold. The lights were everywhere in systems they thought were empty, in sectors they considered secure, even in the heart of their own territories. We've been watching you for 8 months, Dr. Nam continued, her voice calm but carrying an undertone of steel. Your quantum communication networks, your military deployments, your supply chains, your political maneuvering. Did you really think we would develop instantaneous communication technology and not use it to gather intelligence? General Vextall rose from his seat, his massive frame shaking with rage and humiliation. You dare threaten the council? Fleets that number in the thousands. We command technologies that can reshape worlds. Technologies that we've already proven we can disable at will? Admiral Choi interrupted, stepping forward. General, your flagship and its entire battle group are still undergoing repairs from our last encounter. Would you like to test our capabilities again? The Admiral's words carried no boast, no threat, just the quiet confidence of someone stating a simple fact. The holographic display shifted to show real-time images of Draknari shipyards, where massive vessels sat in repair. Docks, hull plating scored and their systems gutted by the electromagnetic warfare that had caught them completely unprepared. "But here's what should really concern you," Captain Park added, her voice cutting through the chamber's stunned silence. "We could have destroyed your fleets completely. Every ship that we disabled could have been turned into expanding plasma clouds. We had the power to cripple your military forces across multiple star systems." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We chose not to. Do you know why?" The council members waited in growing dread, realizing that they were no longer the predators in this conversation. They had become the prey, and the prey was showing them mercy they didn't deserve. Minho stepped forward, his expression softening slightly. "Because despite everything you've done to us, the humiliation, the imprisonment, the casual dismissal of our worth, we still believe in the dream that brought this council together. The idea that different species can work together too, build something greater than the sum of their parts." The holographic display changed again, showing the 47 secret colonies that humanity had established beyond the council's barrier. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering and cooperation, with human technology working alongside innovations from dozens of non-council species. "They called us primitive," Minho continued. "But primitives don't establish hidden civilizations that span half the galaxy. Primitives don't develop quantum technologies that make your best science look like stone tools. Primitives don't unite 63 different species under a single banner of mutual cooperation and respect." An elderly Zenthari observer, the same, one who had spoken to Minho telepathically after the first rejection, slowly rose from his position in the shadows. His mental voice touched every mind in the chamber simultaneously. "I have lived for 12,000 years," he said, his telepathic words carrying the weight of eons. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall, species evolve and go extinct, technologies advance and stagnate. Never in all that time have I witnessed a transformation as rapid or as complete as what humanity has achieved in a single year." He turned to address the council directly. "We dismissed them as children playing with toys. Instead, we awakened something that should have been our greatest ally and turned it into our most dangerous rival. The fault is ours." The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the life support systems and the occasional nervous clicking of Chithari mandibles. The weight of their mistake pressed down on every council member like a physical force. Dr. Nam activated another display, this one showing technological specifications that made several council members gasp in recognition. "These are the designs for quantum healing chambers that can repair cellular damage at the molecular level, universal translators that work through quantum entanglement rather than sound waves, terraforming systems that can transform dead worlds into gardens in decades instead of centuries." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of beings who had considered themselves the pinnacle of galactic civilization. "We're not here to conquer you or replace you. We're here to offer you the chance to join us in building the future that this council was supposed to create. A future where every species contributes their unique strengths to solve problems that none of us could handle alone." Admiral Choi stepped forward again, his military bearing conveying both strength and restraint. "We've already begun working with the non-council species you dismissed. The Zephyrian nomads are teaching us their space-folding techniques. The Silicon Collective is helping us develop AI systems that truly understand creativity. The Void Dancers are showing us how to manipulate dark energy." He paused, letting them absorb the implications. "Your choice is simple. Join us in creating a truly cooperative galactic community, or watch from the sidelines as we build the future without you." The vote took 3 hours of heated debate, private consultations, and desperate attempts to find alternatives that didn't exist. When Chancellor Mordok finally called for the formal decision, his voice shook with the weight of history. "The Galactic Council formally recalls its previous decision regarding humanity. We extend our apologies for our short-sightedness and offer immediate full membership with equal status and voting rights." Minho nodded graciously, showing no trace of the satisfaction he must have felt. "Apology accepted, Chancellor. Now, shall we discuss how we're going to make this galaxy a place where every species can thrive?" Over the following days, the council chambers were reconfigured to accommodate human representatives. The seats were smaller than those built for the towering alien species, but they carried equal authority. When the first joint session convened, the atmosphere was completely different from the dismissive mockery of 18 months earlier. Human innovations began spreading throughout Council. Space within weeks. Medical technologies that extended lifespans by centuries. Communication systems that allowed instant contact across galactic distances. Environmental restoration techniques that brought dead worlds back to life. But the most important change wasn't technological, it was philosophical. The rigid hierarchies that had governed the Council for millennia began to loosen as human. Adaptability inspired other species to embrace change. Ancient conflicts were resolved through creative diplomacy that found solutions no one had imagined. Stagnant civilizations rediscovered their capacity for growth and innovation. In quiet moments between sessions, the old council members would whisper among themselves about the lesson they had learned at such a high cost. The Drachneri, once the most arrogant military force in the galaxy, became students of human tactical innovation. The Aetherians, humbled by the loss of their flagship, worked with human engineers to develop new forms of defensive technology. Even General Vextel, his pride transformed into grudging respect, admitted to his closest advisors that underestimating humanity had been the greatest strategic error of his career. As Ambassador Minho stood before the great viewing window of the council chambers, watching ships from dozens of species working together in the space above Nexus Prime, he reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The rejection that had seemed like an ending had actually been a beginning, the beginning of humanity's rise to become not just members of galactic civilization, but leaders in showing what that civilization could become. The species that had dismissed them as primitive servants were now learning from them, working with them, and discovering that the future belonged not to the strongest or the oldest, but to those who never stopped believing they could build something better. The galaxy would never be the same. And in the end, that was exactly what humanity had been fighting for all along, the right to prove they belonged among the stars, and the opportunity to help others reach for them too. The end.